I don't want to see it, but it's there's going to be so many people flooding out of New York, and people are going to be so. I think it's going to be our first real taste of dystopian life.
Well, maybe we'll learn from it.
Well, maybe some of it. We may have a ghost town. Manhattan may be for sale, cheap. Still smells like
the Indians will give us some beads for it.
Yeah,
that would be a
maybe I'll trade them a little unicorn and a couple puffers there. That'll give me a couple city blocks.
Well, we need to be humbled as a nation, and we need to remember the people that came before us. And it wasn't too long ago. They behaved differently. They acted differently than us. They were for pleasure, and they had to have gardens. They had to canned food. They had to go to work, and they also had a good heart and soul, like St. Rita, that spent time in taking care of people with polio and sicknesses that she could have contracted as a young nurse.
Yeah, somebody had to do it. She said, it might as well be me.
She did it.
Somebody's got to do it.
So the question was, how do we know that we're approaching closer? Well, because a rundown, Father Vila was to follow these popes. Now,
Father Vila, he was set up by Padre Pio.
It said that for the next succession of popes after Pius XII, that you're to follow who these people are and what they're doing. And same thing that Archbishop said, that it's up to the people.
Oh, Noel and Sheen.
And Sheen said that
Right.
they're not going to police themselves.
Right.
So your job is to police them and report on it. He became a journalist, Father Vila, and then he had his own magazine. So once he started writing as a journalist in his magazine, they couldn't control him.
Mm-hmm.
So he was putting stuff out there about these different popes and things that, that some they didn't want to hear it. But and he was also they smashed him in the mouth. He lost all of his teeth. I think they tried to kill him by pushing him off. In Europe and Italy, they got these roads,
tight roadways. Yeah,
you go over real easy. So now we got Paul VI, and Paul VI, they want to canonize him under Francis. Oh no. Under
was he under Pope John Paul II?
Yeah, he could have been under John Paul II. They were thinking about canonizing him.
But they didn't.
Well, Father Vila said, we're not going to have him kiss the bones of a practicing homosexual. And they told him, well, as soon as you're dead, we'll canonize him. I think Francis ended up doing the canonization on him. But so there was controversy on that. John Paul II came in 1978, lasted a month, and they poisoned him.
No, it was John Paul I. John Paul II lasted a while.
Thank you. John Paul I, yes, thank you. And then John Paul II came in from 1978 to about 2005, quoting to Joseph Torellia and to Last Will and Testament of Benedict, vis-a-vis from heaven, that John Paul II was poisoned. And so they didn't like his brand of liberalism that he was bringing, because he was still conservative in many, many areas. John Paul
too conservative to be our liberal.
Well, that's what happens, is that it's like Trotsky. They wanted to kill him because he was vying for power with Stalin. So they chased him. I mean, all these people.
They got him in Mexico.
They got him in Mexico.
They got Trotsky down in Mexico, yeah.
But you would think, well, this is one of the fathers of, father,
No, he was still communicating. They had to shut him up.
And they did, didn't they?
They did. Well, permanently.
So now we got John Paul II that is till 2005.
Right.
And then Benedict comes in from 2005 to 2022, but Francis comes in about 8 years.
No, he got it. He was out in 2012.
He was out, but he died in 22. He was still a legitimate pope.
Yeah.
But they were saying he had to step down. Yeah, right. So 2012, this guy, Francis, comes in and says, I'm taking over, he's sick, he can't do what he has to do, and so on and so forth. And then we got Francis, and after Francis dies, when did he die? 2020?
Francis?
2022?
24.
Is that when he died?
Francis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 24, because then we put in Leo the 14th.
Okay. So Father Vila dies in 2012, which means that the last succession of popes That's interesting. He dies in 2012 is when Francis comes in. So he doesn't track Francis, and one could say because he's not a legitimate pope. So Vila dies. He doesn't have to track not legitimate popes. Our Lord says, he says, Pope this or that. And he goes, well, whatever you want to call him. So he doesn't, he goes, I've had to put up with this for centuries of these people.
Whatever you say.
Representing him. He's going, not again.
Yeah. Well, it's a it's a continuing, repetitive.
The Pope thing's over with, folks. And so you talk about, are we getting close to the hammer?
Well, is the Pope thing over, or is that just an interpretation? But it sure seems to be fitting the other dynamics of the other prophecies.
Correct. Yeah.
And
that's exactly
things
right.
that have been said. And when you look around you, you don't really need an interpreter to see that good is bad and bad is good.
You just see
and
it,
this, what did Saint Lucy or Lucy from
Diabolical
Fatima?
confusion.
Diabolical confusion.
Yeah, how can you be more confused? That men are feminine and that you can change your gender by cutting stuff up. This is crazy.
Well, and then you're lauded for it. You're praised for doing it because you're the courageous one.
Right.
Rather than living the way God designed you and loving that, you want to hate what God made and you want to change it because you are your own God.
Yeah.
And you will determine.
That's exactly what it is.
And this is going to be the type of the 40% that are going to fall away during the dark, period.
Well, they won't know anything, but they're the king of the heap, and that Christ is ridiculous, and I'm not buying into it, and I will not serve, and I don't care who you are, to the point to where you're in darkness.
Right. Well, they would rather have that because it fits their thinking and their reality, that in the cave, in their cave of ideas. They can't get out of it without having to reconstruct everything about them because it was all based on falsehoods. So it's more comfortable for them to stay in this spectrum of lies, this area of deceitfulness.
My God.
But that's what hell is.
It is, isn't it?
Hell is where there's no truth. Hell is where you can't trust anybody else. And it gets to be so bad that you end up even lying to yourself.
Correct.
And so there is no truth, there is no wisdom that is shared in hell. It's just a continual existence of, insecurity, anxiety, and all these things. Heaven
Horror.
has no anxiety.
Right. And they say that the people that are in hell still think that Lucifer's etched out a little piece of his kingdom for him.
Yeah.
You're thinking,
I'm getting paid. I'm going to get paid. I'm getting paid.
Really? And I'm thinking, and you're burning and suffering, and you still think maybe this burning and suffering in flesh, maybe that's more of just a sense of the lies that they live.
Yeah,
and trying to say,
it could be etching on them. It's like burning into this lies that
because
hardens them even more and more and more.
If I was burning, the first thing I would do is say I'm sorry.
I thought you'd say stop, drop, and roll, but
right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's a place for me in Lucifer's kingdom. And Lord, can you help me out here?
Yeah.
I would negotiate right away. You only have to burn me once.
Well, you would turn very prodigal son very quickly and say, Father, can I have at least sleep with the animals?
Right.
Or something like this.
Right.
Is better than what I've laid out for myself.
That's right.
But this is the penitent heart that goes with the prodigal son that's going to come back. And I think that is, I truly believe, is the influence that needs to be gotten around the world right now. It's never too late. You're never too far away. Every second of every day is an opportunity to change and bring yourself back to the Father.
That's right.
And the Father is waiting for you. The Father has all compassion. But you have to be honest in your submission.
Right.
And that's not too hard to do when
you fall.
When you've screwed up so badly, it's like, boy.
Right. No, I'll get up again. Help me, Lord. Right. To get it straight. Let me try again,
Right.
That song, Let Me Try Again.
You're going back to like 70s.
Yeah, it's an old song.
Right,
You would not know that.
Yeah, I don't think that made it on the Love Boat. But
No, it's a pretty song, though.
little Jack Jones there.
So Larry was talking about the conversion. He said it sure seems like the convergence of all these things simultaneously happening is indicating for us that we're close to these events of God's love in correcting us, vis-a-vis perhaps the 3 days of darkness. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was Mark Taylor. We talked about the private library, right? Islam coming. Well, tell the folks about that with the Vatican, at the Pope's library.
Well, at the Vatican, there's Islamic scholars that have been coming in and trying to utilize, as other scholars do from around the world. They get a special, application or permission by the Vatican staff to come in and go through the volumes that are there, all these old books that aren't out in regular print because they're held sacred or whatever. I don't know why they're not publishing the information for the rest of the world. They got to keep these secrets behind all these doors.
Yeah, right.
But it's stuff that it's like need to know. You don't need to know this. We're protecting you.
We'll guide you. We'll let you know.
We'll let you know what you need to know.
Yeah.
And this is where Francis had told Benedict XVI that they're sheep. They'll do whatever I tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he said
he didn't have any regard for the people. It was all about how am I going to accumulate and assemble this new power, for this one world order that they're all in bed with right now. It took them off the Christ's path and put them on man's path.
Unbelievable.
The world,
It's got that power's got to be addictive. I mean,
well, it's incredibly addictive. Somebody says, "We'll do whatever you say." Okay, we're going to have, popcorn for dessert, and we're going to have ice cream then to follow up. Whatever it is. I mean, it's like letting the kid decide what the menu is. But they know best, as they say, and this is what we all have to kind of deal with.
Like
if you choose to,
said to you, you can't talk to a bishop like this. Yes, I can.
I just did. And I'll do it again. Because when you're wrong, sometimes it takes, the kid to say the emperor has no clothes. And that's kind of what I was doing. I said, you're not getting this right. I don't think you understand what I'm dealing with. But they didn't want to know.
They didn't, or they got angry at you, right?
Well,
themselves.
It made work for them. It's like the folks from Lourdes that said, no bishop wants the Blessed Mother in their backyard. And apparently no pope wants the Blessed Mother in the Catholic Church, in the way that things have been going with the natural progression
they don't
of
want
devotions.
Right. Well, you might get a little too attached to her, and distract from the understanding
From Jesus.
What Jesus says.
Well,
this is lunatic. This is crazy stuff. Where'd you learn that? When you were 8 years old, make him believe he was a priest?
well, it's a confusion that's going on, and it's rather than taking on the responsibility they might have to try to use it as an instruction moment, they want to do it as a destruction moment, and sort of pull things back a bit. Say, no, we're not going to let her have that kind of claim because it'll take away from Jesus and people will be confused. Well, the last person wants to take away from Jesus is the Blessed Mother.
Right.
She said that again and again and again. And if nobody has read that, they need to go back and review things because nobody is adoring Virgin Mary. We call her immaculate for a reason. Right. What are they going to do? They're already trying to take a lot of the statues out of Mary, the images, out of the sanctuaries and put them in outer areas so it's not confused with the Mass or the sanctuary going on. We don't want to confuse these kids. So what are they going to do with all the devotional songs? Are we going to lose
absolutely. That's exactly where they're going, folks.
They're going to take out Immaculate Mary, Ave Maria. What all is going to be lost?
Yeah, and then the next one they take out is going to be Jesus. Once you get rid of her, you can get rid of him.
Well, I don't think they could ever do that, but they'll just make Jesus as being, the Islamic friend. But anyway, so
that's what they'll do.
They've already
water him down.
They brought Islam into the Vatican. They're saying, well, they're just scholars, and this is a friendly way. This is the way we're going to.
So you think
you're going to convert these folks? I don't think so.
Can I get a room in the Pope's Vatican with the Mystical City? Can I bring it in there with Carrico's files and see if they'd like to spend a little time on...
I've got a turban and a whole robe I can put on. You can go in as a
I'd have greater access then.
well, you'd probably get a second look,
See, okay.
versus I don't know. I mean, I
Well, this is crazy, is
but
what it is.
you don't sit there and work against your own brand
Right.
by saying, well,
Right. No, you're right.
a lot of evangelization is branding.
No, you're right. You can't work
A
against
lot of trying to
what are you
promote Our Lady of
selling, right.
America is all marketing. Hate to say it, but you're marketing an idea and a belief and a packet of knowledge. There's no cost to it,
Right.
but it has to be put out there because some people, oh, this is all bullshit. She would never do that. She would never do this. Well, since when?
Right.
Why?
Since the Holy Spirit retired.
Right. Well, and then I say, well, it's not in the Bible. I said, well, when did the Holy Spirit die?
Well, he retired
tell me.
2,000 years ago, and now he's playing golf.
But this isn't how I think God has worked, and I think that people have to know, and they've accepted it before. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who is this Italian kid they made a saint.
Oh, the one that was a Eucharist guy.
Well, he was he was a laptop. He was an internet influencer.
Internet influence. Yeah, I don't buy into it.
Okay, well, it was all, the kid was probably sincere,
No, it's okay.
and that's fine. But you got Father Solanus Casey, you got so many miracles
they
attached
didn't make him a
to him.
saint.
They don't have these other people. You got Fulton Sheen, had a lifetime of work.
Didn't make him a saint.
Right. You got Archbishop Knoll.
Didn't make him a saint.
Right.
Mary of Agreda
Yeah, who's
didn't
that?
make her a saint.
Right. But they get a popular internet sensation,
They make
and then
him a
that
saint,
becomes
yeah.
a saint so they can get these kids and have them somebody to hold
Well,
on
that's
to.
an interesting motive.
Oh, it was all recruiting.
It's all brand.
You think this is all like
I didn't think of it like that. I'm
major
sorry.
miracles? I mean,
I didn't think of it like that, Larry. But you're right. It's a brand,
they were losing the youth.
and they want them.
Yeah, and this was an opportunity they had. It might have been, rightfully gained, but it's very selective in who they're putting out there and why. Why aren't they putting out, the Fulton Sheens? Why aren't they putting out the John Knowles? Because they're conservatives. They're very based.
Right.
And they called out the Catholic Church for its internal corruptions
Right.
and things like this that were going on. And they said, you have to, the viewers have to keep your church in check. You have to make sure your priests behave like priests, your bishops behave like
Yeah,
bishops.
they didn't like to hear that, right?
Because they won't police themselves. And this has been the case all the way through.
Yeah, thus, I mean, the Lord's got to clean it out. How's he going to do it? I don't know. Here's one of the propositions.
And what this ends up looking like, we don't know. But we're just saying that there's just seems to be a lot of things are coming together into this, point of contact that's going on.
We have Mark Taylor. All roads lead to Rome, and this is a young guy that was called to bring prophecy. He was the one. Mark Taylor was the one that indicated in 2011 that Donald Trump would be a two-term president, and this is way before he even thought about running. I think in 2012, he decided not to run. In 2016, he decided to run.
But he only picked up on what Tom Zimmer, the what was the guy from over in Italy, the Hermit of Loretto.
Yeah, Hermit of Loretto.
He had been given the heads up by our Blessed Mother to buy the brick to put inside the secret doors.
Yes.
At the Vatican, but Donald Trump's name on it in '85.
Right. So you got a mystic, Zimmer.
Tom Zimmer, the Hermit of Loretto.
Hermit of Loretto. He would pray outside the hermit, and that put a brick in the door that predicted Donald Trump.
Well, just had his name on it for prayers in there, but it was to put in there. And he was told at that time why the brick was necessary. Because he was going to be the one that was going to bring America back to God.
Okay, there you go. I mean, think about it.
God never left. We did.
Right.
A certain segment of us did.
So we got a Catholic mystic that does this in prediction of Trump taking on an important role, bringing America back to the faith.
I don't think he thought he was going to be president, but he was told that Donald Trump, this playboy, was going to be the one that brought America back to God.
And Mark Taylor was the one that in 2011 pinpointed Trump as being a two-term president. And Taylor used to go on talk shows and stuff, and he decided not to do that because when he got the prediction that Trump would be the president for the first 2016 to 20, when he didn't become the president in 2020, right, they turned on Mark Taylor. Right. And so Mark said, I've had enough of this. Here are these Christian people that were applauding all this stuff all of a sudden when he doesn't become back-to-back, two-term, they turn on him. So finally he said, I ain't publishing nothing. Unless the good Lord wants me to say something, I'll say it. I'll publish it. Here's my website. You can read it. And
people can't take it. I mean, it's like the same reaction I got when I tried telling people. I said, there's something going on in Rome City. I don't know. I'm not the churchy guy that you all expect me to be.
Right.
I'm asking for help. I said, I got furniture flying around. I got, an evil presence in here. Yeah. I mean, there was shit that was happening.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm asking for help, and they're all looking at me like, oh, you're just making it all up.
Right.
Well, I wasn't, and I'm not, and here
no,
we are.
Your spiritual director, Father Habel, told you that this bishop ain't going to buy into anything. And here's the other thing: Habel could have been the bishop at the time that Larry was taken into this Our Lady of America business. He didn't want to do it because he knew it was politics and he would have to. But Habel was earmarked to be the next bishop of South Bend, Fort Wayne, and
Noel wanted him to be his successor.
So, at any rate, if you take a look at here's a Protestant kid that
you're talking about Mark Taylor.
Mark Taylor that was fed up with the Protestants, starting to turn on him like a viper. He says all roads lead to Rome, and this was in 2018. It says the Spirit of God says the Pope and the Vatican. That's right, the Pope and the Vatican are not furthering my kingdom, but are aiding the kingdom of darkness. Mark, you got anything better to do? Nope, that's what he told me. I'm telling you, right? Many are saying that this is the last Pope, but it's not for the reasons they think. This will be the last Pope for what I, the Lord God, am about to do. I will expose this Pope and all those under his command for all the corruption he and the Vatican have been involved in for centuries. The Spirit of God says there is a shaking and a quaking coming to this Pope and the Vatican, for I will split the Vatican and its leadership wide open for the entire world to see the inner workings of this ancient beast. I mean, geez.
Dude, I got to tell you, when Burke did that Latin Mass a few weeks ago,
yes,
that was like a double-barrel middle finger to the Vatican administration.
I'm surprised they let him. How did they allow him to do that?
I don't think they could have said no because it was an old tradition.
Yeah.
And it hadn't been done since 22. They were saying because of the COVID restrictions, but it was all because...
it was a tradition that we did. The Latin.
Right. Okay. This has been going on every year.
Okay.
And so, but it was disbanded in 22 under Francis because they wanted to diminish all this stuff because they were breaking out with their lies about what the polling had been done of the bishops worldwide about the Latin Mass. And they started shutting down the Latin Mass under the lie that the bishops had said it was, causing confusion, it was causing disruption in their, trying to
lying
deliver.
Again.
Right. But it was actually, I think, the most powerful tool they had besides the Blessed Mother in developing and keeping the Catholic Church, or at least the tenets of the faith, together. Yeah, it's one of the strongest, I think, as far as sacraments of the Mass of the Church. But the Latin Mass has to be one of the strongest sacraments.
Absolutely, and I think the Burke said there's something. He didn't say mysticism, but there's something very mystical about that Mass that draws people. It's
the depth of sincerity and the purposeful intent that goes through all these little orchestrations in running the Latin Mass versus the regular.
So he didn't go there with his hat in his hand. He went there with the
authority.
Traditions. Did he really?
He's like the top canon lawyer in the world.
So he was probably very nice to the Pope and explained to him, and
the end of the staff is like this needs to be continued.
Okay.
We don't, and I think that they knew that they had really screwed the pooch when they got caught in the lie about what the
Okay.
polling results
Okay.
were,
All right.
because someone actually told on the Vatican that they were lying when they
I
said
see what you're
that
saying.
they had to shut it down because the bishops all didn't want it so much.
So let's
but the results are actually the other way, that overwhelmingly that the bishops were saying respect and keep the Latin Mass, but it went against their lie they were trying to tell, just like they did with Donald Trump with the Russia collusion, that the information didn't add up. So Obama tells them, well, come up with a different report.
So they didn't want any more controversy over this. So let the mass. We'll let it.
We'll let them have that, but they're rolling it back and telling them to move it out of churches all throughout the world.
Okay.
In the United States. And there's a number of bishops that are eliminating the Latin Mass in their dioceses altogether, except for maybe one place if they decide to do it. They're trying to remove it.
Okay.
And Mary is going to be out the door with them in a lot of these places, not in the sanctuaries, but she might be able to be out in a courtyard or something like that, but not in where the Mass is going on, because they have decided that this is confusing. But what they're doing is going and they're cutting out the underpinnings, these foundational elements of the church, the history that's been there for these centuries, that people have grown with and grown accustomed to and grown stronger with. But if they take those things out, now then they can weaken things and bring in more of this feminized thinking. In feminized thinking, and you want to eliminate Mary, the mother of the church?
Is the most feminine rite of existence.
Yeah,
right.
we got some really, disconnected thinking going on.
And Mark says this: the Pope, the Vatican, and all of its leadership will come crumbling down.
Yeah.
I will pull back the veil to show how deep and dark the deception has been, and perhaps this Latin Mass interplay is pulling back that. And
Well,
showing.
I think the Latin Mass really pulled the wrong nose hair on a lot of these bishops around the world, especially the retired ones,